What's up, everybody? Today, we're going to talk about two companies that are both extremely cheap, whether you're looking at price to earnings, enterprise value to operating income, free cash flow yield. Really, whatever metric you look at, these companies look like value. The prices are down. They arguably could be considered market leaders in their niche. Both of these are very small companies, but they have been doing well in their lane. They have been growing over the medium and long term. And we're going to see if we can find some value today. So, as always, if you get value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support what I do, join the Discord, get my template and add-on for Google Sheets, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into it. And the first company we're going to talk about today is Card Factory. If you live in the UK, you probably are familiar with this company, but if you don't, this might be new to you. This is a small retailer, which, as you may have guessed from the name, they sell cards, birthday cards, greeting cards, Christmas cards. They also sell other holiday accessories, party things, balloons, stationery, stuff like that. But the primary business here really is just selling cards. They've grown their store count quite well over the past decade, and we see that, revenue has basically just been going up and to the right, except for this blip here in 2021, 2022. I'm sure you can imagine what was happening during that period. The vast majority of their business is physical stores. They don't have much of an online presence. They did recently buy out Funky Pigeon, which is a competitor more focused on online cards. And they've made some other acquisitions, so not all of this growth is organic, but basically, they've been able to expand stores, grow top line, they're paying a dividend, the debt level is reasonable, and yet they're trading for about 6 times operating income, 5 to 6 times earnings. So, what's going on here? The stock's down about 30% over the last year. In fact, just from where it was at the end of September, we're down closer to 40%. It's not surprising that the stock dropped a ton in 2020, but this company right now is putting out record sales numbers. The top line is at an all-time high, and yet the stock isn't even half of what it was before COVID. So is there an opportunity here? The most recent earnings had top line growing about 6% year over year, and this 6%, about 3-ish% is in like-for-like growth, so same-store sales increasing roughly in line with inflation, and then another about 3% is from just increasing stores. The net stores, I think they added 13 net stores during this period. Cash flow has been relatively strong over the past 12 months, not really much of a change in net debt, and yet they've been able to pay back £17 million to shareholders through dividends and also make some acquisitions here. So the good news is you're getting paid, about a 7% dividend while you wait here, while the company is expanding as well. They are the market leader in this relatively small greeting card market. But here are a few of my concerns. So last week, we talked about B&M. This is a UK retailer. I think it's pretty cheap. I think the risk reward is good, although I don't own this stock. I do have my concerns. And while I think risk reward here looks pretty nice right now, if you watch that video that my concerns are partly around the macro situation in the UK. Inflation in the UK, still pretty high. Real per person GDP in the UK, lower than it was 6 years ago. Meanwhile, into a sluggish economy with persistently higher than you want inflation, they've been increasing taxes. In particular, the national insurance contributions, which is kind of like the UK's equivalent of payroll taxes. They went up a decent amount in the first half of 2025. And when you add up all these things together, operating expenses are just going up for a company like this. We see that in their operating margin here. In fact, actually, maybe just to visually see this better, I'm just going to go to my website here, going to go to Card Factory, pull up their financials, and I'm just going to go to the last 20 years, and I'm going to add operating margin to this chart. And what do you see? Operating margin has basically just been dropping. We used to have operating margins north of 20%. I mean, obviously they were low in COVID, but even still, when they recovered to about 15%. Now we're down to 13%. Margins are getting squeezed here. Costs are higher. And this led the company a few weeks ago. We see right here on December 11th, December 12th, the stock dropped about 27%, and that's because they put out a profit warning. Essentially, they updated their guidance saying, hey, this fiscal year, we're not going to make as much money as we initially said we were going to make. They put up this statement here saying top line UK store sales performance is lower than our previous expectations, and also bottom line profit here going to be between £55 million and £60 million. Before they were saying, this was going to be about 70-ish million. So this is a pretty big miss, and it's understandable why the stock was down quite a bit on that. Even still, if you look at the market cap, they're trading for, maybe a little bit more than 4 times their pre-tax earnings, a little less than 6 times their bottom line after-tax net income. So it definitely appears to be cheap, but the trend in margins is really concerning. Now, you may wonder, why would someone even go to a card factory to get cards? Wouldn't it be more convenient to maybe pick up a card while you're at the grocery store? And yeah, it might not be a dedicated card seller. They might not have the best selection, but that just seems easier, right? Well, card factories' advantage and selling point has often been value. Their cards are simply cheaper. They have good control on the supply chain. They've been run efficiently, so they've been able to have decent margins while also offering great prices. And recently, the decline in margin, it does seem to be threatening that narrative. Anecdotally, just reading what customers say online, while Card Factory is still cheaper, it seems like the relative cheapness of Card Factory, the relative value that they're offering to their customers as compared to, just picking up your card at the store, is a bit less than it was 5 to 10 years ago. So that's definitely a bit of a concern for me. But now let's go to our sheet, put in some numbers for the future, and see what we can expect for a return on our investment in Card Factory. And for me, in my base case, I'm going to give them 3% growth on the top line every year for 5 years. I think that's fair. They are still expanding. Same-store sales growth is acceptable. It's still positive. I don't think I can give them any more than this in my base case. Operating margin, it's been falling. And frankly, with a tough macro environment, with increases in taxes, wage inflation, and also taking into account that profit warning they just had, I think there's a lot more downward pressure here. I'm going to pull this back to 11% margins, and free cash flow margin, I'm going to pull that back to about 3%. And that makes this adjusted free cash flow somewhat in line with the dividend that they're paying now. And if I give this company a 7 times multiple, which isn't demanding, but I also don't think a small niche retailer like this in the UK should trade for a very high multiple. In any case, I think these assumptions are reasonable. Maybe you could argue a little bit conservative, but if they come true, you're looking at a 12% annualized return on Card Factory stock today over 5 years, which is basically a 75% return on your money over that time. So for me, I don't even need to look at a bear and bull case. That's just not enough reward in my base case. Yes, if this scenario comes true, that's likely a market-beating return, but I'm looking for more. And while you could argue that I've been conservative on the numbers here, if you are more optimistic than me, especially on operating margin, if you give them, 15% margins, which they were just doing a couple years ago, all of a sudden, this stock looks like an incredible buy. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to add Card Factory to my watch list. I want to look at especially where their margins are going. Is operating margin going to stabilize? Is it going to go lower? If they're able to start increasing their margins again, then I might change my opinion. But for now, for me, I'm not going to do anything with Card Factory. And the second company I want to talk about today is Douglas Group. This is another European company, definitely some European stocks that look like value right now. Douglas is the market leader in Europe in premium beauty products. If you live in the States, this is kind of like Ulta Beauty. So it's an omni-channel retailer. About 2/3 of their sales are from stores. The other 1/3 is coming from online. And as you see, just in Europe, in premium beauty products, Douglas, by far actually the market leader over Sephora and other brands you might know, Beauty Alliance, Amazon's in here. As you see, they sell all across Europe. They are the market leader in most countries, and if not, then they're the number 2 player. The business model really is very similar to Ulta Beauty if you're familiar with that company. Most of the focus is on branded products rather than private label. You see the brands that they work with here: Chanel, Dior, MAC, Estee Lauder, Kylie Cosmetics. I'm sure you know a ton of these brands on here. Skincare, makeup, fragrances, that's the majority of the products that they're selling here. They're seeing pretty favorable dynamics for this total addressable market. I think I agree with them. People aren't going to stop buying these products anytime soon. There's no amount of AI that's going to decrease demand for makeup and fragrances, I think. The beauty market will keep chugging along, and Douglas is taking a good amount of this market share. They have 63 million beauty card members. These are like their loyalty members. Think of it like, the Ulta card. And right now, in spite of being the market leader, in spite of being a decent grower, slow grower, but still there's growth here, they're actually still adding stores. They are trading for roughly 6-ish times earnings. If we look at the enterprise value to operating income, which is my preferred metric for a company like this, especially one with a significant amount of debt, we'll talk about their debt in a moment, they're trading for like an 8 to 9 times multiple. that's really not that expensive. So what's going on here? Well, first, just looking at the stock. So this company, it's been around for a very long time. It used to be a public company a while ago. It was taken private. It was bought out by private equity firms in 2013. And then just recently in 2024, they IPO'd again. It's traded on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, and it IPO'd back in 2024 for 22 euros a share. And right now, it's roughly half of where it was when it IPO'd. The stock dropped by more than 50% February to April, so in just 2 months of last year. And most of what caused that drop was Douglas came out and said, hey, demand is weak. Our sales growth is weaker than we thought. Earnings and margins weaker than we thought for 2025. At the time, they revised their earnings guidance from, what was previously about a midpoint of 240 million euros down to 175 million euros. So that's a pretty big drop there. And also revenue, top line. They brought down their expected sales to 4.5 billion from what they say was an upper estimate of 4.8 billion. And just so you know, this was March when they came out with this guidance update. And at the end of the year, which for them, their fiscal year ends at the end of September, they were dead on net income. The net income was 175 million euros and sales was actually rounded to 4.6 billion. So they outperformed this a little bit on the top line. Now, premium beauty has often been more resilient to recessions and tough economic conditions than other industries. That might be surprising because you might think, hey, premium beauty, when there's a recession that hits, that would be like the first thing you'd stop spending money on. But actually, in the past, many luxury brands are hit less hard than you might think by a recession. Nevertheless, for Douglas, they've clearly had a slowdown in both top line and bottom line here. And it definitely mirrors what we've seen looking at European retailers in general. The European consumer is not spending as much. And for the business, inflation is often eating into their bottom line. So we see margins eroding. In fact, it's not just in Europe. We've seen this with brands in the US too. We've looked at Lululemon on the channel. We've looked at Deckers. Margins are pulling back for both of those companies. They also have tariffs to deal with. So there's some other issues at play. But in general, brands, retailers, it's been a tough go of it here. Nevertheless, Douglas is still growing. And as far as what they give for guidance for next year, they say, fiscal year 2026 sales of 4.65 to 4.8 billion euros and adjusted EBITDA margin of about 16.5%. So that's a guide of only about a 3% increase on the top line. And as far as margins, they're actually projecting margins to contract slightly. This most recent fiscal year adjusted EBITDA margin was 16.8%. So they're saying growth is going to be slow. It's not exactly positive guidance. Consumer sentiment and spending slowed in the early months of 2025. Overall profitability was under pressure due to challenging market conditions. It sounds like they're seeing these challenging conditions continue for the next few years. They do give some medium-term targets or, medium-term guidance, whatever you want to call it, but they say for the next 3 years, we expect top line to increase low to mid single digits, sustain a stable adjusted EBITDA margin, which is kind of a meaningless statement. I assume what they mean is stop the contraction of margins that they've seen in the past few years, and reduce the net leverage to a range of 2 to 2.5 times. So let's talk about this one for a moment, because right now the company is using their cash to pay down their debt. They're using their cash to de-lever their balance sheet. Many retailers or companies we would call value companies use a portion of their cash to return to shareholders in the form of a dividend, especially in Europe. Douglas does not pay a dividend right now. They are not buying back stock. In fact, they explicitly say we're not going to pay out a dividend until we reduce our leverage some more. And this is possibly a reason the stock hasn't been so attractive to shareholders recently. Now, I looked at their books just to see specifically what is going on with their debt, how much of this debt is actual interest-bearing bank debt, and how much of it is lease liabilities, because those are on the books as liabilities as well, and they're added into net debt. And of their debt, only about $1 billion of it is interest-bearing debt. The biggest amount there is this 800 million euro loan to the bank. This is all pretty low interest debt, this 800 million term loan. The rate they pay on it is the 3 to 6 month Euribor rate, which is a little over 2%, plus margin. The margin that they're paying on this, it started at 2.75%, and this is also based on their leverage. So if they're over certain leverage thresholds, if they have too much debt relative to adjusted EBITDA, then they pay a higher margin. Right now, all in, they're paying about, 5-ish% on their debt. So really low interest rate there. They're clearly focusing on paying down their interest-bearing debt, put a couple €100 million towards that over the past year, and I expect we're going to continue to see that fall over the next year. So I think the debt is pretty acceptable here. It looks high, but it's manageable. And I think in a couple years, the company might be in a position where they can start paying a dividend. And that may feel like it's a far ways away off today, but I think that could be a catalyst for the stock when it does occur. Now, I think it's time we put in some projections for the future for growth and margins and see what we can expect for a return on our investment in Douglas Group. And for my base case, I'm just going to give them 2% growth on the top line every year for 5 years. That might seem a little bit conservative. It would be towards the bottom end of their guidance, but it's what I'm comfortable with, especially considering my overall, concerns about the macroeconomic situation in Europe, the willingness for consumers to spend over there. So 2% growth on the top line. Operating margins, I'm going to bring this back to 8.5%. That's a slight contraction of their margins from where they are now. I think based on last year, it's pretty conservative to assume there's a little less than 200 million euros that's going to be coming back to stakeholders, whether it's debt holders or in the future, equity holders in the form of a dividend. But this money, I think, is going to be coming back to stakeholders one form or another. And I'm giving the company a 9 times multiple. I think for the market leader in this space, that's decently conservative. You could reasonably give them a higher multiple, but even with just these assumptions, I'm looking at an 18% annualized return on this stock every year for 5 years, which is about a 130% total return over that time. And if the company performs more to the higher side of their guidance, if they have, 4% growth on the top line every year for 5 years, operating margins stabilize around 9%, I'm going to keep the free cash flow margin just where it is. And if I give them a 12 times multiple, nothing here is that insane of a projection, then you're looking at a 35% annualized return. This would be more than a 4x on your money over 5 years for this stock. As far as the ugly bear case, I think a lot of the downside potential could come from margins contracting more than we think. I'll give them just 1% growth on the top line, definitely not even meeting inflation over 5 years. Operating margins pulling back to maybe 7.5%. I'll pull back their free cash flow margin as well. And if we give this company a multiple of 7, then you're down on your money, even after holding this stock for 5 years. You give them a multiple of 8, now you're roughly flat. You're up a little bit on your money after 5 years. So to me, this is about the ugly bear case. I think for the market leader in this space, they're looking reasonably cheap. Just to also do a very rough comparison with Ulta, this isn't totally fair. Obviously, they're different companies. The markets are different. Ulta, I think, has better growth prospects and slightly higher operating margins. But even still, Ulta has, roughly double the revenue of Douglas. Keep in mind, Douglas's metrics are in euros, Ulta's are in dollars. But Ulta has almost 20 times the market cap of Douglas. Ulta has about 3 times the operating income of Douglas, about maybe twice the adjusted free cash flow, but their enterprise value is more like 8 times that of Douglas. So just relative to Ulta, Douglas sounds very cheap. Again, it's not totally an apples to apples comparison, but after looking at this company, after putting in what I think are reasonable assumptions about the future, I think risk reward looks good. Now, as far as what I'm doing with the stock, I don't own this company. I don't own Card Factory. And just for clarity, nothing in this video is advice to buy or sell any of the stocks that we're talking about here. I just give you my opinion and I tell you what I'm doing with my money. And for me, I think that this company looks very interesting. I do still have some concerns about buying something that is just so completely exposed to the European consumer right now. The guidance for next year is really not stellar, and even though I think we're being offered a great price today, I could definitely see the price coming down further. I would love to buy this more in the 10 euro range. I think I would be offered excellent risk reward at that price. You could have bought this stock under 10 euros in April of this year. Obviously, at that time, tons of stocks sold off. There were a lot of opportunities in the market. This company wasn't even on my radar back then, but it is now, and perhaps in the future, if I'm offered an excellent price, I may enter a position here. This is definitely my kind of company, simple business, market leader, boring and unloved, and very cheap. So I hope you got value here. If you did, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support what I do, join my Discord or get my template with add-ons so you can make sheets like this, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. And I hope to see you all in another video.